more, and we're going to find out more about the Mississippi Valley Flywheelers Association. Y'all, I had to Google what a flywheeler was, and I had no idea it was a tractor. Joining us today is Harry Collins to tell us a little more. Hey, Harry.
Hello, how are you doing, Rebecca?
I am doing well, and once I put my palm to my forehead and I was like, it's a tractor. I have seen one of these before, but for those who may be like me, explain to us what a flywheel is.
Well, a flywheel stores energy from the engine and it keeps it constant, whether the engine is, accelerating or decelerating. And so every engine has one. It's just if you think about a potter's wheel, that's something similar to a flywheel. And these are mainly engines. And then later in the late 1800s, they started putting them on tractors.
Okay, so the Flywheelers Association, Harry, is it focused just on tractors or on any kind of flywheel?
Well, it's most any kind of flywheel. We have the small stationary engines. We have a 65 horsepower engine that used to run a cotton gin on site that we crank and run every year. And then we have antique tractors also.
See, I'm putting my palm back to my forehead because I thought it was just a tractor now. But this is why you tune into Good Things. You get to learn new things every day. Okay, so how did the Mississippi Valley Flywheelers Association get started?
Well, as you know, a bunch of old men got together that were interested in the flywheels because the engine lost favor in the late 1940s, and things went to tractors primarily at that time. And so it's a real simple engine. It can be called a hit and miss engine or a governed engine, and they were as small as a half a horsepower on up to 50 or 60 or even larger horsepower. And so these guys got together to, show off their engines to one another, trade parts because you couldn't get parts for them. So, they would cannibalize some of the engines and take parts off of them to make a better engine run. And, pass on information is that's the best way to run and keep the engines maintained and running.
So do you, gentlemen, do y'all also go and seek out other flywheels, or are these the type of machines that sort of get passed down, particularly in farm families or ranchers or that type of sort of business? Or is it like you keep your search out on eBay or maybe at flea markets and snag them kind of like antique car collectors?
Oh no, yes, that's right. They are passed down and they are bought and sold, and there are what we call tractor shows or engine shows all over the United States, and up in the Midwest they are huge because of course there's many more tractors and many more engines up there in that part of the country. There's 3 or 4 or 5 shows in the state of Mississippi, and because we didn't get tractors or engines down here till later on. I was born in 1950, and one grandfather had 6 head of mules and 3 tractors when I was 12 or 13 years old. And then my father said that, tractors didn't come down here until after World War II.
So who in the Mississippi Valley Flywheelers Association, Harry, maybe has the oldest tractor or the one that everyone looks forward to when y'all put on one of your 2 shows each year?
Well, there are several of us that have some older tractors. I've got a 1940 model tractor, and there's 1 or 2 guys that bring some that were made back in the 30s. That's about as old, and these were on steel. They were called steel wheel tractors. They're probably the oldest ones. And we have some guys that have some engines that were made in the early 1900s.
Mr. Harry, we've got a question for you. They want to know, okay. Someone asked, is there anything to do with the old engines that was sometimes used to motorize an ice cream freezer?
Oh, yes, and we do. We have a gentleman that comes every year, and he makes ice cream with a John Deere hit and miss engine. And it is some good ice cream, too. But that's the same thing is what we use so far.
And you're talking about, Harry, y'all's upcoming show for the Flywheelers Association. So when's that happening? That's in Houston, Mississippi, correct?
That's in Houston. That's right. It's September the 24th and 25th. This will be our 40th show.
40th
40
show.
years.
That means that the
40
folks enjoy coming out and seeing the flywheels. So what all will happen at the festival?
Oh, that's well. Now, one of our big things is we shoot off an anvil once on Friday and twice on Saturday. We put a pound of gunpowder under that anvil and shoot it off up in the air. And people ask me, "Well, why do you do that?" I said, "Just because we can."
Who gets to pull the trigger or to light the fuse, Mr. Harry?
Yeah, but there's a couple of stories. One story is after the Civil War, the soldiers, whether they be Union or Confederate, would get together and to remember the war and the smell of the gunpowder and the loud boom. Everybody had an anvil and they would shoot it off. And then another story is back in the 1800s, all the farms had anvils and they had gunpowder. So at Christmas, on Christmas Day, somebody would shoot off their anvil, and then the next person up the holler or down the holler would hear it. They would shoot theirs off, and then this would go all around the countryside. That's the two stories that I've found. And in California, they shoot them off for accuracy. But we just shoot it and hope it comes back down.
And it's come down, I guess, at least 40 times, if that's how many times you've had the event. Well, it sounds like nothing but family fun, and that's what we're all about here on Good Things, and to getting everyone out to visit Mississippi. So where is it? Where are you guys going to be located?
This is in Houston, Mississippi, at the Joe Brigant Park, City Park. It's a tree-shaded park. Everybody comes out. We have rides. We have things for the children. We have food. We have displays. We have a blacksmith there on site that does blacksmith demonstrations. And of course, a lot of then people bring parts off of old tractors and things, and all kind of old farm things. And we have a flea market type thing for all the ladies to come out, And so everybody in the community and all around from Florida, South Mississippi, Tennessee, they all come, and when you spend the day in the park. We have a paved trail that you can walk through, and there's something going on all the time. Music. People will be playing their banjos and fiddles, and it's just everybody gets together and has a big time. It's just hometown Mississippi.
Mr. Harry, you got to tell me about the girls and the ladies who toss skillets for distance. Are these their wrought iron skillets? Like what are we throwing? Cast iron skillets?
Yes, they're cast iron skillets. I stole this from another show. I go around to these other shows to see if I can pick up anything, and sure enough, I was up in Tennessee, and they had the ladies' skillet tossing contest. And we take now for different size ladies and young girls, we have different size skillets, and we just we mark off the line and see how far they can throw it. I let them put their husband or boyfriend
on the other end.
On the other end, just to see how far and we give them a ribbon to see who can throw the farthest. And the boys wanted to do this, and I'm a male chauvinist, I'll have to admit. And so I couldn't let the boys throw a skillet, so I went and got some pistons, and so we let the boys throw pistons.
So what's the furthest that you've given a ribbon to for a cast iron skillet being tossed by a lady?
Well, first let me tell you, one lady threw hers straight up in the air. And I was watching it, and it looked like it was headed right for me. And so I'm backing up all the time, and I backed up into a pile of concrete blocks, and I stayed down, and I just knew it was going to hit me, but it didn't. But I think about 12 or 13 feet is as far as they have thrown them.
That's an angry woman. Or a good, strong Southern woman. So when she says she's mad, you better watch out.
And I tell them all, I said, now listen, boys, if your wife throws a skillet at you and knocks a hole in the wall, you just go down to Walmart and buy you a pitcher and cover up the hole, and you don't have to worry about fixing it.
There you go. Well, we need to worry about getting out to Houston, Mississippi, and coming to y'all's event that's coming up weekend. Where do we get more information, Mr. Harry?
Well, our CDF director over there, they're changing, so we have. But anyway, there's a. If you get on Facebook and put it in, there's some information there, or you can call me. Area code 662-401-9252.
Well, Mr. Harry, this has been a pleasure, and I've learned so much from you today, and I know that your event's going to be such family fun and just what we need, so I appreciate your time here on Good Things.
Well, yes, ma'am, and thank you for letting me talk a little bit.
All righty. You guys stick with us. We got more good for you.